Hey everyone, my name's Tim, and this episode is brought to you by our sponsor, Riverside. So, Riverside's the tool I've used to edit my podcast interviews since I got started nearly 3 years ago now. And I've always been impressed with the new features they've been coming out with, like AI cuts, B-roll, pause recording, live tools, and more. But especially the way that they've been supporting creators like myself through sponsorships, and also the information that they're putting out in the form of guides, blog posts, and other resources that can really help to level up your podcast or YouTube channel. And these guides they offer from experienced creators in the Riverside team on everything from social media promotion to tips for growth and monetization, how to book your dream guests, and more are just a few examples of these resources. If you're a podcaster or YouTuber, I highly recommend giving Riverside a try. And if you want to do that, you can head over there using the link in my description and put in the code Mytogblog for a 15% discount. And now, on to the show. How would you like to travel the world making awesome videos for luxury brands and get paid for it too? Well, my guest today, Christian Schu, is living that dream. Christian has more than a decade of experience creating cinematic stories for brands. His content has won international awards in competitions such as the Los Angeles Film Awards, the Vegas Movie Awards, and the Paris Film Festival. And he's created video content for high-end brands such as AVM Audio, Naim, and Bang & Olufsen. In this episode, Christian shares with us how he landed some of his first high-end clients, what he does to build and maintain their trust, and the principles that he applies to make high-end luxury videos. And whether you're an experienced videographer or just starting out, I think there's a lot we can all benefit from listening to his advice about how to take our own content up to that next level. So without further ado, let's get into it. Hey, Christian, welcome to the show.
Hi, Tim. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's great to be here with you. I'd love to start just by learning a little bit more about your story and how you got into what you're doing.
Okay, well, to put a long story very short, I was not happy with what I was doing. I was an insurance broker and selling insurances. And I wanted to basically, I've been sworn to myself, I will never do that again. Just until I reached a point in my life where I had to decide to do it again to make money and sustain living and life, or do something else. And then I remembered my childhood. I was building with Lego studios, with Lego bricks. I've been building TV studios instead of police stations and fire stations. So when I recall back this memory, it suddenly appeared in my brain when I was like a little bit desperately searching for some, I don't know, like purpose in life and what should I do? And then it hit me, it struck me like a lighting, basically like that. And I couldn't get rid of this thought anymore and of this idea. And 1 month later, I said, okay, that's it. I've sworn to myself I will never do insurance anymore and sell insurance. So I started with zero knowledge. I've been never to film school. I had this dream and maybe I was bursting with creativity, but I had no idea how to do that. So I had a good friend help me to build a green screen studio. Back then in 2015, it was maybe the peak of virtual studios. Everyone was doing a green screen recording for their online course and this and that. Maybe I was a little bit too late, but no problem. It was a great learning. So he helped me to build that up. And 1 month later, I had my first paid client.
Amazing.
More or less out of nowhere. And that's how I got into it. This is what I actually really always wanted to do, but I never dared before. In 2015, there was this kind of way to go. Either you go left or right. And I decided to stick with my dreams and take the leap of faith and just go for it. And I never regretted it. It's not always easy, but no matter what you do, you have ups and downs. That's my story in short form.
That's amazing. Well, how did you get the first clients? Was it social media? Was it advertising? Was it word of mouth?
In fact, it was word of mouth. But the most funny thing for me is that this was a friend or a business partner of another business partner of me. So I've been introduced like, Christian is very good in marketing and now he's doing filming. You should talk with him. And that's how I got to know this guy. And this guy was so easygoing. He never minded that I had zero experience, and he gave me actually my first paid job was filming the WTA Mallorca Open. It's a Spanish island. My job was to capture the B-roll in the back, the celebrities cheering, talking with each other, and make some compelling and emotionally clever video from this. That was my job to do. But the client was basically the company who set up this Mallorca Open. The WTA is the Women's Tennis Association. That was a big gig. All the stars were there. All the women tennis player from the top 20 was there competing with each other because it was the last grass tournament before Wimbledon. So they all came, and I've been doing that the whole 3 years when there was a WTA's Mallorca Open. So I must have made something right. But at the same time, it was a steep learning curve for me to make that work out.
That's great. I mean, it shows the importance of that word of mouth kind of connection, leveraging your personal networks when you're an entrepreneur, especially starting out. A lot of creators focus on social media almost at the expense of that. And I think they're making a mistake in a lot of cases in terms of where the proportion of the effort should be going at first, because you desperately need those clients for your portfolio. I'm sure that was a huge boon for you, like you're saying.
I totally agree with you. In fact, until today, which is now 10 years ago, 10 years I'm in this business, and I love it. But most of my clients are word of mouth. They are calling me up. Oh, I've seen you did this and that for this client. Can you do something like this for us? Of course, they are not contacting me via social media. They are sending me an email or ringing me up because they got the number from somebody.
Exactly.
I mean, I believe that nowadays you have to be present on all of these platforms. Have a portfolio up there. These clients will also check you out. At the end, they will decide that, and at least that's my experience, they will decide because I did something already in the industry, or I did something for somebody they know.
Yeah, that's exactly what another guest of mine said. Daniel Yours, he's a fitness expert, and he's like, I get most of my clients through word of mouth, but social media is critical because of my portfolio. It's where people go, they've heard of me through a friend, and they're like, okay, I'll go check out his socials and see if I like them. And then it's like a funnel. I like thinking about it as a multi-channel approach. You can get some clients through social media, but like a lot, especially at first, you need that trust factor on social media. If you're starting out, less than 1,000 followers, somebody goes to your profile, unless they have some pre-knowledge of you, they won't think that that's impressive. It's unfortunate, but like maybe they're not an expert, but if they've heard from someone in their real life, oh, this is a good person to work with, that's where the follower count doesn't matter as much. Yeah, I think your experience shows a good example of like how these pieces fit together.
Absolutely. I see social media and all those profiles as like maybe 20 years ago, the calling card. If your business card was very fancy and had a nice title on it, you've been somebody. They were like maybe trusting more than if you gave them a paper cut out card that you designed by yourself,
Exactly.
And that's social media now.
Yeah. So you had your first clients, the business started to grow. What do you think was the main factor in getting beyond that first stage where you've done your first work and now you're trying to scale it up? What helped in that phase?
That's actually a very good question. I believe with me, it was my compassion. First gig turned out quite nice. And of course, I had ongoing business with this client, but then it slowly evolved. They've seen the videos that I've done. I also did some networking on this Mallorca Open event because all the European press was there, and businessmen and also rich people who wanted to enjoy life. And of course, they've been seeing me jumping around there. So what they didn't know is that I was so shortly in the business, but they've been guessing, if he is jumping around there, taking videos and doing that for this company, he must be doing it good. So of course, I collected numbers again. I did some networking. I was invited to the VIP party as well, not only to film, but also to do some networking. A few people hit me up and asked me, hey, who are you? Where are you based? What are you doing? And so from this, I also took the opportunity to do networking and to get to know those people and to ring them up later. Again, ring them and again ring them because they've been busy and they've been not here and they've been not there. And then I traveled a bit to meet them because maybe they are only in Spain. So you need to sacrifice a few things, especially at the beginning of your career. My working days were long and my resting time was not so long. The first 3, 4, 5 years, I believe it's important to show up. I mean, you need to show up every time, but maybe invest more into this to have a base laid out.
Yeah, what you said there really reminds me of a story from early in my career. I had written a book for the Canadian Gas Association for their 100th anniversary, and I got invited to one of their parties for the book launch they're doing. And, I'm a little bit introverted myself, so I was kind of standing around with my drink, and one of the people from the Gas Association came up and said to me, "Tim, what are you doing? This is a room full of potential clients." I'm like, yeah, you're right. So I got out there. It's tough though, I think, especially when you're starting out. Do you have any tips that helped you kind of push through the nerves when you're networking at an event like that?
At the beginning, that was also not easy for me. I wasn't confident in what I was doing because for me, I know already when I go to Mallorca for filming, I've been doing maybe 1.5 months, 2 months around. And I was more or less watching YouTube tutorials day and night to achieve the level they needed for the video to be. And I've trained a lot and I tried out this and I tried out that before, in the evening shooting, in the afternoon, I was trying to make this move. How is it working with pulling focus at the same time and so on? I've been doing it totally alone, all by myself. So you need to learn everything, you need to learn to do a good sound, a good lighting, a good camera movement, and everything must be in focus. So I was not very confident back then, but I was lucky that the people were easygoing. Then I was like standing in the middle of that. I was confident and lucky me, I guess they took what I was doing before and said, well, then he's good in what he's doing now. And so from this, I've been becoming more easygoing. And from that on, maybe I still needed 5 minutes standing somewhere, listening to some conversation first, and then stepping in.
Exactly.
I 100% agree. For me, it's also not always easy I'm not the guy jumping in and saying, hey, here I am, the world waited for me. You are all lucky that I'm here. I'm not that kind of person.
I think you take a few minutes, get your bearings. Most people are probably more easygoing than we realize or perceive. You just start the conversations. 90% of people will be receptive. Yes, there will be those ones that are kind of cold or what have you, but it happens. You just kind of keep going. That's great. Keep the end goal in mind, what you're trying to achieve there.
Yes.
One of the things I noticed on your website was that you have this idea of story building. I think that's really important for the success of video creators. So I'm interested in what you said about how you offered to help make your company or product ready for the movies. I thought that was an interesting approach. How do you go about doing that? Because we're talking about people not getting past the nerves of networking. I feel like that's multiplied 100 times when you're saying, okay, get in front of this camera and we're going to put this video on the internet.
Yeah, true.
So how do you get people like a business owner, not an actor or a media personality, how do you get them to be comfortable with doing this?
Okay. Well, when it comes to story building, what I basically do is I listen. I listen a lot. I take more time at the beginning before I even do more or less anything. I have calls with this business owner or with the marketing department, depending on the size of the company. Mostly it's just business owners, CEOs I'm dealing with. And I just listen. What is important for them? What do they want? What kind of product, service, or what are they offering? And who is their target group? And I found out for sure half of the time that I have somebody sitting in front of me that they don't know who is their target group.
Exactly.
They are like, we are doing products for everyone. Who is buying? Who is the persona you're targeting? And then they don't know. And then I need to sit down and either talk with the marketing department to figure that out better.
Yeah.
Or it's my job to do a project that targets the right group for them.
Right.
At the beginning, when it comes to this kind of story building, storytelling approach that I have, I'm listening a lot and I'm figuring out for who is the service or the product tailored to. Who can we sell best? And of course, I have some experience after doing this for 10 years. So I roughly know who are we talking about. And the second question you asked, how to get the people like a CEO who is usually not in front of the camera comfortable is tough. I can tell you it's really tough because they maybe are used to speak in front of hundreds or even thousands of people. And that's no big deal. They have a shareholder meeting and he just talks there. But it's all here. They are feeling uncomfortable, and that's happening between the two ears. If we, let's say, doing a brand movie or something like that, and they have to talk in front of the camera or have to host that, I will tell them, which is really important, they need to know their text. I had one time where the CEO didn't know the text and he didn't train for it on production day, and I packed my things and I've been leaving because I know it will not work. I know this is totally wasting his time and my time. It will not work. They need to know the text. So if they know the text, what they want to say, because we need to make it repeatable. That's the thing about video. If you are standing in front of 1,000 people and you're having a shareholder meeting, you can talk whatever you want as long as it makes some sense and you have some like common thread you've been going through, everything is fine. But with the video, it must be repeatable. That's the most important thing. So they need to know the text. Okay, long story short, they know the text. And then I have a little trick that most of the time works, which is I tell them, okay, listen, I need to set up the camera. I need to set up the sound. I need to set up everything. We do one test. I'm not filming yet. We need to do one test. I see everything and then we film. Is that okay for you? Yeah, that's okay for me. Sure, no problem. So now we are not filming, right? Yes, now we are not filming. Of course I'm filming. There was not only one time when the only footage I was able to use was this footage.
Yeah, I've experienced the same thing myself as a creator. Okay, I'll do my first take, but it's just the practice take. It's better sometimes for the later takes where I'm actually trying to act. And since I'm not an actor, it's not as good.
And that's really a problem because the CEO especially, he got an image of himself and he needs to also show this image, of course. So the people are maybe sometimes too stiff. They are not loosening up. They are not easygoing. This is not just, for them it's something big. Maybe they do that only once or twice a year. So they are like this, you know, like in front of the camera like this. And what was my text now? And then it's over. And then we go line by line. Okay, I can cut there. Okay, no, now this one you need to give me the full 2 or 3 lines, then only I can cut. And then they are super insecure. And this is something, it will only go away with training, with a lot of doing.
And that's the challenge because you don't have time to train them.
And we don't have time for this. I mean, of course, I can stay there for 1 week and they will pay that, but it's no point, you know? It's no point. It's not good for them. It's not good for me because it's like really wasting time and money.
It's not like I'm going to practice this for a few days and I'm going to be good at it.
Exactly. No, it's not going to be like that. So if nothing helps, what sometimes helps is if they drink 2 sips of wine to make them more calm and more relaxed, or just me being alone with them. You know, sometimes there is a whole bunch of people around.
I could see that.
Telling, no, you cannot say it like this. Another lawyer standing around the corner saying, oh, we need to make sure that you are saying the right words. So we are not attackable by somebody else. And all of this, then you have a bunch of people, 10 people standing around the set, and the CEO is like, okay, doesn't feel good. Sometimes I will just compliment them out of the room. My friend, now it's just the 2 of us.
That's right.
Easy going, relax. I know we can do that. So now you calm down and basically you just talk with me. And you know what? I'm right behind the camera. You see that lens there? I'm only looking on my monitor. Front of the camera, I have a bigger screen or what. Sometimes they can see that I'm really looking on the monitor and I'm focusing on you. You look at me. If you want to look at me, you need to look into the camera. You talk with me.
I always record more effectively if it's me or like me and one other person. But as soon as there's people standing around, it becomes almost distracting.
Yes. And you're thinking, oh, what they are thinking now. And now I have audience.
Yes. And then it's like, oh, that was a bad take. Now I'm wasting the time of all these people.
Yeah. And so you're feeling more uncomfortable and it's like a circle of death, maybe.
Totally.
It's not good.
So that's really great about the customer avatar and figuring out who you're talking to. I think that's so important with video marketing.
Yeah.
Defining who you're talking to is so important.
Actually, yes. Sometimes you have a marketing department who got some ideas already, have some plans, some ideas, but it's always my job, more or less, to guide them into the right direction. If you're working with a big company, then you have a lot of egos everywhere and you need to please them, because I'm externally, I'm not internally in this company. When I have a new client like this, then I need to be a friend in the marketing department, especially if it's a bigger company. They need to like me and they can't see me as an enemy.
No.
I need to be their friend and have some good ideas that they can sell as their ideas to the CEO.
I could totally see that, because like all it takes is one word from the marketing department. We don't like working with that guy.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, we'll try someone else.
This guy is difficult. Yeah. And that's it.
Yeah. And so I think your target market, when I look at your website, I'd say like you're a luxury brand for video marketing and you're working with high-end clients. And so you gave us a little hint there, but what do you think is essential to landing high-end clients and then keeping them?
First of all, there is like the fundamentals, I would say, and this is good work. Maybe not good, already great work.
All right.
You need to know what you're doing. You need to be confident in this and you need to do a very good job. Nobody needs to talk about that. That's the very, very first thing. And then I believe your videos need to sell. At the end, it's all about sales. Everyone wants to sell. I mean, even if I have a client come to me and tell me, Christian, we need to have a better image of ourselves. All right, why do you want to have a better image of yourself? Yeah, because the people don't buy our products. Yeah, all right. So it's about sales. At the end, it is always the same. Even though if you do an image campaign like that, image campaign, it's about how the people see you as a brand, see the company or personal brand, how they get to know you, figure out who you are. It is about sales. So at the end, the question is always that I also ask my clients, even the high ticket clients, what do you want the viewer after watching this video to do? What are they supposed to do? Do you want them to go to your website and watch the whole video? Because now they only watch 5 seconds or 10 seconds on social media. Or you want them to buy a product? Or you want them to tell about this funny advertising they've just seen to a friend? What is actually the plan? What is your customer, your potential customer, supposed to do after this? This is really important because it's a different way of conducting a film and doing a commercial. It's a different approach. You guide the audience in a different way. If they are supposed to click on your website because they are curious, they want to know what's going on after this, the film is suddenly stopping at a time where I want to know more, then they will click. Maybe your target group hopefully will click, and now they can see the whole 3 minutes. And then after that, what are they supposed to do? Newsletter, product placement, like on social media. It's really all about that. That's what I need to know first. Only I can dive into the project.
And I guess with your clients, a lot of the call to action is more like visit the website or learn more as opposed to buy now, because like you say, it's a short video. You can't buy high-end, or most people don't buy high-end luxury electronics or something like that. That was a great 10-second video. Here's $10,000.
Well, basically what my clients are selling is something that everybody wants, but nobody needs. Let me give you an example to help my clients understand that. Let's say there is a client of mine, Macintosh Labs, the US manufacturer of very masculine devices. One device easily is 10 grand, easily. The range is a lot higher than 10 grand. They start with 8 or 10 or 12 grand. It's just a receiver. With this receiver, you can't do much. You need a source, you need a loudspeaker, you need a lot more than that. So after they are finished setting up, they spend 50, 60, 100 grand, depending on whatever you want. But this brand is very manly, like I said, very masculine. You have a lot of metal, a lot of typical masculine form. 99% of buyers are men. Who would have guessed that? What you can do is you can tell a story by, let's say, basically put some smoke there, reveal the device, and maybe you put that device into some kind of lunch club atmosphere. like those typical kind of nice man club kind of atmosphere. There you go. All right. Done. Sold. The man will be like, oh, nice. I need that. Okay. Next client is Bang & Olufsen. Bang & Olufsen got a very diverse buyer set. 50% men, 50% women. They buy together. Right. A couple comes into the shop. Bang & Olufsen is a luxury brand from Denmark, and you can customize more or less everything. You can customize your loudspeaker by choosing the wood and the wood color and what kind of wood you want, oak or you want a walnut or you want whatever wood you can choose, or you would rather choose to have metal, no problem. So what you need to show in advertisements or in social media content, website content is a warm home. So the wife feels comfortable. Right. She see that and she's like, honey, we need to buy this because this is nice. And it's like a statue anyway. What they create is like more or less like statues that have a very nice sound. So totally different approach. Right. And that's, I would say, how I managed to keep high ticket clients happy and with me. They know my work is good. My work is working for them, selling. I hit the right target group. And of course, there is one more thing that also applies, which has less to do with me, is the fact I know what they want. They call me up, Christian, can you help us? You know what we need, right? Yeah, I know what you need. I can help you. We can do that. What is a bit short time in 2 weeks? Yeah, all right. I can make it. I don't have anything on this date. Yes. Right. Let's hit it. That's why they call me. That's why they pay flight tickets for me, because they are used to me. They know I do what they need. Right. Like the trust factor. And I think what you're getting at when you're talking about the different types of videos that you're creating, concept that Jonathan Hayes and I talked about in our episode, emotional resonance, and how do you create emotional resonance? And I think those are a couple of good examples of how it's not necessarily something overt, right? It's not always delivered through words. It's through the whole video messaging. That starts with lighting, background, the whole setup. Where are we filming? Are we going to a forest? Or at least it looks like a forest. The audience thinks it's a forest because, reality and video filming has nothing to do with each other. How is it portrayed? What does the audience see and feel? What I learned in these 10 years is that soundscape, for example, is so important, so important. You need to hear it. If the sound is not there, it helps already to have no emotional resonance. Doesn't transport it. If you show a forest and there is not these sounds from the forest, like there is a person walking and it doesn't fit, like the person is walking on wood or on this muddy underground or whatever you are showing, it doesn't work. These are great points. Fit all of this. It's about the details, right? Yes. And we have to think about so many of the details. I think that's what makes creating video content so challenging to do well. You're right. One little thing that's a disconnect. You might not think about it as the creator, but the viewer will notice it. Exactly. And that's what I always say when I've been often asked from other filmmakers, but also from clients. They say, yeah, we want to film a little bit by ourselves. Yeah. What is important? Do we need a good camera? And I say, yeah, the camera should be fine. But what you really need is the best microphone you can. Because if this is not working, if this doesn't sound good, your viewer will not like the video. Don't even know why. Yes. Very interesting. The sound is not good and the audience will reject this video without even, like there is something in the subconsciousness that triggers them. I don't know why it is. Maybe we need some scientists to explain that. Yeah. But I also found that in my experience, if the sound isn't good or isn't fitting, they won't like it. They will reject the video. You have the most nice visuals, but the sound doesn't work. The video doesn't work. Yeah, exactly. So that kind of reminds me of another thing I wanted to ask you, which is like, what do you think are the coming trends that video creators should be aware of? Because it's getting easier to create good visual. Like people have access to better equipment. People have access to editing software that can do stuff automatically that used to take expertise to create it.
So where's the competitive advantage then? Or what's the trends people should be aware of to stay relevant as a video creator, to differentiate yourself?
I will stick with storytelling as an answer for this question. The content nowadays that you are seeing on social media is so flat in terms of depth, in terms of story. You can easily get a hook, like a viral hook. You see something happening, those kind of funny situations. And then from that, those creators, they take it. You see a video where something bad happens to a person, and then they slide into this situation. All right, you have my attention. Then what?
Right.
What happens after this? And I believe this is like a good concert. If you hear the first 5 seconds, maybe you don't like this concert, no matter what music it is, heavy metal or rock or classic or pop, doesn't matter. Maybe the 5 seconds, you are like, what is that? You need to take the time to watch it and to get to know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe it's crucial for content creators and for filmmakers in the future to have a good story. This, to me, this kind of trend that you are talking about, and that what is the trend of the future? I think the trend of the future is authenticity.
Yeah.
Back to the roots, back to real filmmaking. Yes, the Marvel empire and Avengers and DC Comics, it's all very successful in terms of box office. Yes, but it's empty. It doesn't have a soul. It's different if you, like the big feature films, if you film on location and the actor or the actress don't need to pretend don't need to pretend, there is we are in the universe and there is something coming up, a meteor, and now I'm shocked. For sure you know about Interstellar, and Christopher Nolan directed that with Matthew McConaughey. He did that as good as possible on location, or for the scenes in the space, he projected the space onto some studio screen and hang up the glider where they were shooting inside. Matthew, of course, he's a great actor, but it's different if you're acting in front of green screen, imagining something, or if you can actually see that. You can focus on other things. You don't need to imagine there is something. You can just focus on acting itself. You can be this person who is now in space, losing time with the daughter, precious time, because of being far away and different time is running differently and so on. And I believe this is actually always the deal is good storytelling. You also don't need a viral hook.
Exactly. I think those things are like, they're trends and they're effective for a while, but then after people are burned too many times by like, okay, there's this hook, and then it immediately changes to something else. Suddenly I'm watching a video about somebody's online course that I should buy. I thought this was about a guy sliding down the hill.
I like to compare that a little bit with fashion. We have fashion trends every year. When I grew up, now I'm 38. When I grew up going to school, it was very popular to have those kind of pants that have buttons all at the side. You can just tear them open. There was for a few years, 2 or 3 years. It's very fancy. Everybody wanted to have it. Or all the girls were wearing those kind of buffalo shoes, the plateau shoes that were in the 90s. Everyone wanted to wear that. But very honestly said, if you see somebody dressing nicely and classic, timelessly classic Italian fashion or French fashion, British fashion, they are quite good in this. 30 years ago, and you see them now, they are dressed well. It still works. And yes, of course, it is more expensive. No doubt you will pay maybe $1,000 for a pair of shoes. But these shoes, you wear 20 years. You just need to change the sole. Always works because it's a timeless design. And I believe good storytelling is timeless, is really timeless.
That is a great way to think about it. Christian, I just wanted to ask, what are some of the things that you're working on right now?
Right now, I have my usual clients that I have projects with, ongoing projects for social media, for their websites. In May this year, we are just planning this is High-End again. High-End is the biggest fair in the world in Munich. Last time in 2025 in Munich, then they will move to Vienna. So maybe it will be a little bit more. That's usually 4 days of running around and filming whatever I can. But besides this, I'm just in the last steps of having my first featurette. Is a short film. Actually, it's not a short film because short film is 20 minutes. After we started with the script and so on, we realized we have so much to tell. So it became 40 minutes. And it's just in the last steps of post-production. I'm actually waiting to have the music and the sound back from the music and sound department to finalize everything, putting that together. And then, of course, the first step will be to bring that to as many film festivals as possible. Cannes will be coming up in March, if not mistaken. Tribeca in May or June, something like that. So, of course, we want to show that and compete with other films on film festivals. So I believe this year will be quite interesting when it comes to this.
Amazing.
I don't want to talk too much about it. It's basically a story about a woman who is lost in her life and lost in aging and can't accept the way she is aging. But it's also some kind of film noir thriller where there is a young woman and she wants to take the life of this young woman. It's interesting.
Sounds very interesting. Yeah, look forward to seeing that. I want to wish you all the best with those competitions.
Thank you so much.
And so just as we wind up, how do people get in touch with you?
Oh, pretty easy. I have my website.
Yeah, I'm going to put it in the description.
They can easily find me on social media as well. On all the major platforms, I'm active. They just hit me up if they need anything. If they need me to help them with video and film, I'm very happy to set up an initial call and see if we are a good fit, because it always needs to fit on both sides. I need to feel comfortable with this person or with this client in general, with the values they stand for, they represent. I don't want to work for everyone if I can't stand behind the products, for example, they are producing.
I think that's so important. I feel the same way as, as a creator. I always try the products that I recommend.
Yes, you need to like the products, you need to like the people. And if you're not feeling comfortable with how they do it or what they are doing, why you want to help them. In my case, why do I want to help them sell more? I don't think it's a good thing.
Exactly. Well, thanks very much, Christian. It was great talking with you today.
Thank you so much, Tim.
So there's a key theme from the start of this episode that I think is just so important to highlight here. And it's about what Christian said with respect to getting his first high-end client through personal relationships. This lines up almost exactly with what Daniel Yoris said about his experience in the fitness industry, what Tiago Faria said about his experience with digital marketing, and with my own experience as a content creator and in life in general. And so here's 4 people who have never met one another before, never talked about this before, all saying the same things about the importance of personal relationships in business. And maybe this seems like an obvious point, but I see it time and time again with digital creators or business people, and especially with students who will spend hours sending resumes off into the ether on the internet, but they're not doing personal follow-up or outreach, or they're not leveraging the networks that they have. Look, I get it. It's tough. As I said in the episode, I don't even like doing it that much myself, but I'm going to tell you 2 personal stories about why it's so important and why it's worth the effort. So one of the jobs I did to earn money to pay for university was cleaning office buildings. And one day I was in there dumping garbage cans, and I ran into this guy who was a manager within the building. We got to talking, and he asked me how I was doing or something like that. And I told him how I had this problem that I needed a summer job so I could earn money for university. The next thing I knew, he was saying to send him a resume. And 2 weeks after that, I was working in the building on his maintenance crew, making double the amount of money that I was making before. And you could say that was a bit of luck, and it was, but I wouldn't have had that luck if I hadn't told him about the fact that I needed a job. And, I'd seen him before in the building, and we'd talked a few times before, so we did have like a bit of a relationship, at least at a surface level, right? And so it's an example of like how, you should tell everyone about what you're doing with your business, and you never know what connections they might have or how they might be able to help you, but they won't be able to do that if they don't know what you do and like why it would be great to work with you. So You have to build those things, and it takes time and it takes consistent effort. But as we've heard from so many other fellow creators and business people, this is the way to get those crucial first clients that you need to help building your business. You can say, okay, this is all well and good, Tim, but what if I don't have a personal network? Well, this is where going to events, any kind of events related to your industry, your customers, or doing active personal outreach comes in. And I'll give you just one example of active outreach here before we move on. So when I first started this podcast, I didn't know a lot of people who were into content creation. And I also didn't tell anyone at work about what I was doing. So I couldn't leverage those connections either. That's a story for another episode. Some of my episodes got like 10, 20 downloads per show at first back then. So there was like no business reason to be on the show. But what I had done is built a personal connection with dozens of other content creators from around the world via social media. But at the time, I didn't have any specific requests of these people. These were just organic relationships that were formed as we supported one another and shared our common wins and struggles as content creators. But that network had huge value when it came time to get the first guests for this show. So even as I just started and I didn't have a big audience or a track record in podcasting, I was still able to get guests like Ginger Star Borden and Nock Werner, who had thousands more followers than I did, partly because they knew me and they wanted to help me out. And those were relationships I had built much earlier through online networking. And I'm not talking about just dropping likes or leaving some emojis and comments. I'm talking about genuine comments, replies to stories, DMs, those kind of things. Experts in social media know that the relationships are really built in the DMs. But again, topic for a different episode. What I want to finish on here is this question of emotional resonance in video content. And it kind of fits with what we're talking about in terms of building a relationship with your audience. And I really liked what Christian was saying with respect to emotional resonance, not necessarily relating to over-the-top acting in your video content. Because most of us aren't actors, right? It's about creating a particular emotion or mood or vibe through things like scenery, sound, staging, and storytelling. And of course, lighting. All these things come together to build emotional resonance. And when we talk about storytelling, we're talking about stories that are authentic and relatable as much as they are dramatic or exciting or what have you. But when we think about how to do that well, the structure of the story does matter. And that's where you're going to want to watch this next episode here to learn more about that. Thanks for watching. I hope you have a great day, and we'll see you in the next episode.